What's up? Welcome back to A Soft Place to Land. Before we get started, can we talk about how I'm wife of the year? Because what do you mean Casey Stoner's on my wall of my bedroom? Okay. I keep trying to film like this really cool intro that sounds all profound and like whatever. And I'm just like, that ain't even me. That ain't even me, okay? So I'm just gonna do this like I'm having a conversation with someone that I love. Welcome to A Soft Place to Land. We live in weird times. We live in particularly weird times. We're being constantly thrown negative, crazy, wild, insane information. And so I wanted to create a space where people can come to just give their brain like a rest and to maybe, I don't know, get some like nutritious brain food instead of seeing things and being exposed to things that melt your brain and calcify your pineal gland. I'm definitely going to go into depth about that eventually. Today, let's talk about neuroplasticity, what it is, what it means scientifically, what it looks like in your brain, and then we're going to talk about some simple mindset shift hacks that you can access at any given time to help you get out of a mental funk, a spiral, or I don't know, whatever else you've got going on. It's not going to fix your problems. I'm not a mental health professional. I cannot like guarantee any of that, but these are research-backed, scientifically proven methods for you to use when you need them. Let's get started. First, let's talk about what neuroplasticity is. Neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to rewire itself, specifically rewiring your own neural pathways. So freaking cool. Okay, so what that means is, say you walk the same path down this beautiful forest every single day. You've walked it so much that you've literally created a path. The brush is opened up, it's dirt instead of grass, and it's very visible, okay? That would represent your neural pathway. Say you no longer used that path, what would happen? It would start to become overgrown, the grass would start to grow back where that dirt is, and you would no longer be able to see it because you're not using that pathway anymore. Okay, do you see where I'm going with this? Okay, that's okay. So in your brain, when you have thoughts, feelings, emotions, based on your past, your previous experiences, and your inner dialogue / narrative, you will typically, 9 times out of 10, think the same thing every time a certain subject comes up. For example, maybe you really want to, I'm like, come on, Claire, come up with something on the fly. Come on. Maybe you really want to be an ice skater. Whatever, we're gonna go with it. Maybe you really want to be an ice skater. It's been your dream since you were little. You've always seen it in your mind's eye. But every time you have that thought, it is followed with, but I can't do that. That's the path you always go down. That is the forest path that you always go down. It's perfectly open, it's perfectly visible, okay? In order to rewire that, you create a new neural pathway. You start cutting brush in that forest and creating a new path. So you catch yourself in that thought that says, whatever it is for you, I can't become a figure skater and ice skater because I don't have the skills. Okay, you pause and you're like, actually, that's no longer true for me. I want to become, okay, and then you rewire it with the thought you want to say instead. You don't have to believe it, but as you start to repeat this back to yourself and as you start to pave that new neural pathway, the next time you have that thought, it will be replaced with the new thought you've created, okay? It takes practice, it takes time. It's not something that just shifts, because think about it, when you're creating a new path, you have to do it repetitively for it to be able to show up on its own, for you to be able to see where people are walking constantly, like on that path. So that is what neuroplasticity is. It is your brain rewiring itself. So when you hear someone say, I can't change that, that's just the way I am, that's a cop-out, because you actually can literally change your brain. You can rewire your brain in real time and shift the way you're thinking about things. So no more cop-outs, all right? Because you do have the capacity and power, and your brain is so insanely cool that you can change the way you think. I'm like, okay, let me think of a real life example for me. I always wanted to be a yoga teacher. I have wanted to be a yoga teacher since 2014 when I took my very first yoga class. I was like, oh, I want to do this. Okay, so for the next 7 or 8 years, every time that thought would come into my head, I would immediately follow it with, oh, but I can't do that. I can't do that. I'm not someone who can do that, okay? That was the path I had created for myself until one day, I'm trying to think, definitely Saturn return time. When my brain started changing, when my prefrontal cortex finally developed, I was like, oh, actually, I can do whatever the frick I want. Why can't I be someone who's a yoga teacher? That's crazy. I don't agree with that anymore. So I decided that day, I want to be a yoga teacher, and I'm going to figure out a way to do it. So for the next several months, when I would have that thought, I want to be a yoga teacher, and I would feel myself start to say, no, you can't, I would stop and be like, yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can do anything you set your mind to. And I created that new pathway so that every time I had that thought, it became a new muscle memory. Oh, I can, and I'm going to. So that was just an example. So now let's talk about some simple mindset shift hacks that you can incorporate to help rewire your noodle. So first I want to talk about why these mindset shifts are important, okay? Your thoughts create your reality. I'm going to say that again. Your thoughts create your reality. Everything that's going on around you right now is because of the thoughts in your head. The words you say are the house you live in. Your self-talk creates physical changes in your brain. That is a scientific fact. So it's really important how you talk to yourself, because your thoughts create your reality. And if you want your reality to match this beautiful inner world you've created, then you need to work on cultivating that beautiful inner world. Here's how to do it. So I'm always quoting quotes. I am a sleut for some quotes, okay? I think I have more quotes in my head than I do song lyrics, and my gosh, do I have some song lyrics. There's a quote that says, your life changes when the way you speak to yourself changes. Whew. That hurt my feelings, because until I started paying attention to the voice in my head, I had no idea how mean and rude I was being to myself. We speak to ourselves in ways that we would never speak to somebody we love. And you don't have to be in love with yourself. You don't have to be vain to just treat yourself nicely. That was a huge step for me. That was number one, whoa, I'm not even nice to myself to begin with. So how can I have these big dreams and these big goals when I'm not even kind to myself first? So that's a first step, is noticing how you're talking to yourself. So in any given situation, just pausing and noticing that current dialogue that's being spoken in your mind. Are you being kind to yourself? Are you being gentle? Or are you being harsh and rude and not giving yourself any grace or patience? That's your first mindset shift hack. Notice how you're speaking to yourself. So now here are some actionable mindset shift hacks. I love these. Anything actionable that I can share, I'm always going to, because it's one thing to just talk about it, but to embody it, that's what we're trying to do, okay? My favorite one in the whole wide world times 1,000 is changing I have to I get to. Oh, That one's yummy. So you wake up in the morning, you have 400 million things on your plate. I have to do this. I have this meeting. I have to drop my kids off. I have to blah, blah, blah. Like right when you wake up, it just starts going off in a list. Trust me, same, okay? The second I wake up, I'm thinking about what I have to do. That starts to pile on, and before you've even left the house, you just already feel kind of heavy with like all the things you have going on that day and just everything in your mind of this, you know, it's too much. Gross. Don't start your day like that. That's icky. You don't have to. Replacing every single one of those thoughts with I get to is so powerful. For example, I have to drive my kids to school. I get to spend time with my kids on the way to school. It's a perspective shift. I have to go to the grocery store. I get to go choose nutritious food to feed myself because I care about myself. It's cool if you think this is cheesy. I don't give a frick if you do. I'm here to tell you that this stuff works. Listen to me. Another one I really like is everything is happening to me versus everything's happening for me. You guys, if you hear me say anything in this video, everything around you is happening for you and not to you. It is divinely guided, it is divinely orchestrated, and it is happening for your greatest good. Even the super icky stuff that we don't understand is there. I'm like, how deep do I want to get with this? How in depth do I want to go? Because I can really, really talk about this one for a while. I'm like, do I want to talk about your soul contract? Nah, we won't. I'll spare you today. I'll spare you the depth and complexity today. But just this once. Everything is happening for you. It is to build your character, to teach you something. Everything in your life is a lesson. When you stop saying, oh, why is this happening to me? And say, what is this teaching me? Oh my gosh. Buckle up for what's to come. Because once you start looking at it that way, oh wow, it's so cool. You learned so much about yourself and you're like, oh, this was here to teach me this. And you might not even realize it till months later, maybe even years later. But I cannot emphasize enough that everything that is happening for you is there for your greatest good. I promise. Last one I want to talk about. This is who I am versus this is who I was taught to be. Oh, that cracks open possibility. It's so beautiful. It separates identity from conditioning. Yes, this is how you were raised. Yes, this is what you've always done. But that doesn't mean you have to continue to do it. I know. I said it. This creates immediate spaciousness for growth, okay? Yes, you were raised that way, but you can rewire. You can repattern. You can break the cycle. It's possible. So now that you've learned these, whoa. Now that you've learned these, it's like, okay, where do I start? That was a lot of information. I got you. I got you. Okay. Your job today is to just notice the way you're speaking to yourself. I encourage you once a day for the next 5 days. Pick a time, maybe set an alarm. Every day at 2 o'clock, your alarm goes off. Pause and notice what's going on in your head. How are you speaking to yourself? How can you shift your language into something softer? How can you be kinder to yourself? And whenever you pause and shift that thought, take note of the shift in your physical body and how that feels. When you do, that strengthens the neural pathway. So instead of having to do it over and over and over, which you will still have to, you may not have to do it as many times, because when you're noticing the physical reaction, that strengthens that thought. Thank you so much for listening to this. What I want you to take away from this is you do not have to overhaul your entire life to begin these mindset shifts. It's just a little bit at a time. It is one step at a time. Give yourself grace. Be patient with yourself. You are learning. This is your first time on earth. We are all here in earth school, inside of these meat suits, living out our soul contract, okay? Give yourself grace and patience and love. You are working to build a life that is calmer and lighter and feels good for you and feels like it's really yours. I think this is a great gateway into getting started on your new journey of positivity and happiness. So I'm excited for you. If there's anything I can do to support you, or maybe any additional information you'd like to learn, maybe you want to hear more about neuroplasticity, I would love to share some scholarly articles, some research. That's all I have for today. It's time for me to go to the gym, and I really don't want to, but I get to. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of the day. You're amazing.